Hi, my name's Brooke Moeller and I'm a Master Gardener in Placer County. Today our garden adventure has taken us to the home of Pauline Sakai in Roseville. Pauline's been gardening here for over 40 years and she has just under an acre. She has a veggie garden, she has a pollinator garden, she has many California native plants, and she also has many water features that she has made herself. Today I decided to start our garden adventure in the springtime because I'd heard Pauline's pink garden was just gorgeous. So come along with me and let's go take our garden adventure to Pauline's pink garden. Tell me about these purple irises that we're coming up on over here.
So the irises, the purple ones are rebloomers, and they are always reliably the first ones to bloom in the garden. And after they're done, we'll have a flurry of other colors, pinks and yellows and whites. And the purple ones will bloom again next fall.
Rebloomers, that's fun.
Yeah, many years ago I tried wisteria. I was highly allergic to them, but anyway, I am not anymore. And so after a while, I think the wisteria will probably be holding up the trellises because that's how, hardy wisteria is. But it's also a water-wise plant, so besides being beautiful and fragrant.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, we're coming into the crab apples. Look at this.
So the crab apples are the last of the pink flowering trees in the front yard garden. And prior to that, we had saucer magnolias and eastern redbuds. So luckily we didn't have those 60-mile-per-hour winds, and so we still have petals from the crabapple.
Well, what's the difference between the eastern and the western redbud as far as do they flower differently or are the colors different?
Yes. So I have both in my yard.
Okay.
The eastern redbud tends to be more of a tree form and grows taller.
Okay.
And in my yard, it grows before the western redbud.
Okay.
And the western redbuds that I have a row of California native plants along the fence line, and includes a redbud, which is more bushy instead of like a tree form.
Okay.
And has a little bit darker pink color. And since it's native to California, it's very water-wise.
Okay. Look at these tulips.
Yeah,
Woo!
so these tulips are giant this year.
They are huge. I like the way you have name tags on everything.
Well, I'm figuring that one of these days I'll be older and won't have as good a memory as I do right now. And when people come to the garden and visit, and they ask me, I could just say, there's a sign for it.
So what do people say when they come to the garden? What kinds of comments do you get when first-time people?
They say, you must be out here all the time. This is a lot of work.
Yeah.
But as a master gardener, we always tell people that for weed control, for moisture retention, to do a lot of mulching.
Mulch it up.
So I've mulched the front yard this spring, and I haven't yet done the backyard, and that's a plan. And so I don't think I'm out here nearly as much as people think I am.
Yeah, the mulch definitely helps hold down the weeds. And for our audience, we'll be back to see her backyard too. So stay tuned. We'll be back at another time to see her backyard. Let's keep going.
Hasn't bloomed yet, but in here I have hummingbird sage, and it will be blooming pretty soon. It's a ground cover, but it has pink spikes. Mm-hmm. So we'll continue some of our pink garden when that starts blooming. And it likes a shady area, so it has the benefit of the two red buds. You might notice these two red buds are very different looking from each other.
Yes.
That's because one of them is male and one of them's female.
Okay.
And you'll be able to tell that later in the season when the female actually has the seed pods hanging on it and
Okay.
the male does not.
And how old are these? About 20 years?
A little less than 20 years old.
And these are the Eastern.
Yes.
Okay, well, maybe I don't need necessarily a Western.
So I've actually been here in this Roseville garden for 40 years, and it started out just being dirt and weeds. There wasn't anything here. And the backyard actually was the first garden that I started. It all came in phases.
Sure.
And then so after I did a remodel on the house, then I did the front yard. And so the front yard is much younger. Backyard's 40 years old. The front yard is 20-something years old.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having us out today.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to ask you a couple questions, like, how did you get your inspiration for this garden? You've got almost an acre. Where did you start?
Well, I actually started in the backyard because I had a little one-story house at the time, and I thought that I would be doing something a little grander, and so I concentrated all my efforts at first in the backyard.
Okay. And why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? What's your background?
Well, I'm from here, around this area locally,
Okay.
West Sacramento, and then I became a software engineer, and I did that for 27 years.
Okay.
And about 5 years before I retired as an engineer, I trained as a master gardener.
Okay.
Because my coworkers would always be asking me gardening questions, thinking I knew a lot. And I felt like, well, I needed to get some education to feel more comfortable with my answers.
And you also took some horticulture classes at Sierra College too, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. Did you complete that whole program?
I did. So I became I got an AA in horticulture.
Yeah. Did you use that background, that education in horticulture for helping you with your plant selections and stuff?
I think so, and it helps me explain things to other gardeners as far as the physiology behind plants and things like that.
Right plant, right place. Yeah. So you decided to begin in the backyard. Your pollinator garden is in the front yard.
Uh-huh.
And so, did you have a lawn back there or in the front?
Yeah, I had a huge figure-8 shaped yard in the front yard originally, and I always felt guilty when I had that lawn there because as a master gardener, lawns are kind of not water-wise.
Right.
So one year, I think, so the lawn had actually been in for about 10 years.
Okay.
And then I decided to get rid of it and to do something better, like the pollinator garden.
Okay.
So I got out sheets of plastic that I had stored in the garage, and it was clear plastic because that's what they tell you for sun solarization.
Okay.
And I started putting that over the lawn, and then I ran out, and then I put some black plastic on it, and that actually served as a little experiment.
Okay.
To see which worked better.
Yeah.
And just like the research tells you, the clear plastic works better.
Okay, that's interesting. How long did it take to get rid of that whole thing?
Well, it turned out that since it wasn't a high quality plastic, it was just whatever I had.
Yeah.
After about 3 months, it degraded in the sun.
Okay.
And one windy day, shards of plastic were all over the yard, and that was the end of the sun solarization project.
It was done enough.
Yeah.
Then we used a shovel.
Well, by then it was dead, but it's like kind of like I wasn't planning on collecting shards of plastic all over the yard.
So you've had lots of people through your garden, and you've been featured in Sunset Magazine.
Uh-huh.
What is the most common comment you get from your guests?
Well, it's interesting because some people say, so did you have a plan for the whole thing?
Right.
And I never did.
Okay.
Because if I had planned the whole thing, it would have been too overwhelming because
most of the garden is a do-it-yourself project.
Right.
And so I planned a portion of it at a time. And as I went along, I tried to make it look cohesive and go together.
Okay.
And so they always, you know, think that I planned it all, and because they see what's done.
Right.
And then in the end, they're very much inspired by the whole thing.
Yeah.
That a person could do such a thing.
I think it was also feel really peaceful and tranquil here. People would say that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
The water features help with that, and the rooster.
And then since I'm actually I have suburbia Roseville across the street, people often say, oh, this is like an oasis in the middle of, hubbub.
You've been here for 40 years, over 40 years. So this part of West Roseville wasn't developed much when you
It was
moved in.
it was cow pastures across
Yeah,
the street when I
yeah.
moved in.
So been a lot of changes. Well, your garden is beautiful and it is an inspiration. When you have that much land to deal with, you can see where an overall plan would be good, but overwhelming as well. So, well, I'm looking forward to seeing your garden during the different seasons. We're going to be coming back in the summer to look at your veggie garden, and in the fall, I bet you get some really beautiful color.
Yeah.
Yeah, so be sure to come on back with us in the summertime and see the garden during its different seasons.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.